Okay, everyone, welcome to Home Studio Show and Tell. This is the July 2025 episode. We have two amazing voice actors. In a moment, I'll let them introduce
Thank
themselves.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see their studios. More excited than most episodes because while Joseph and Jason and I have been chatting for 15 or 20 minutes, I've seen glimpses of their studio and I'm super, super anxious to see more. They were moving around, we were checking cameras, and I saw lots of things that I'm really anxious to stare at and ask questions about. In a moment, I'll ask each gentleman, Jason and Joseph, to talk a bit about themselves. Guys, I want to really hear what you're doing in this industry. Where can we hear your voice? What are your specialties? What's something unique about you? And after that, it's time to enter their studios. Let's see how they work. We want to see your microphone and know why you chose that mic. We want to see your mic stand and where you attach it. Is it on the floor to a desk? We want to see that. We want to see your acoustics and the processing and your flow and even how you enter your studio. The more you show us, the more interesting this will be. So let's start. Let me start with Jason. Jason, I've known you for quite a bit now. You're an amazing voice actor, an amazing human being. Let's hear a bit about you.
Thanks so much, David. So I have honestly, I've been a musician and audio engineer for a little over 20 years now. Got my start in ministry, stage performance, um, community charity events, and things like that. And my wife and I decided we were going to adopt a baby. We made that decision last year, and I had been working full time as an AV engineer in the Raleigh area, freelance, and I'm not getting any younger. So I said, I need to figure out something that I can do a little more remotely so that I can look after the little one when they come. And voice acting has always been a passion. I was always the little kid running around singing theme songs, trying to sound like all the villains and all the wrestlers on TV and such like that. And it was a passion I'd kind of dabbled in about 10 years ago, and just didn't it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right season. And last year I jumped in a little bit and did a few auditions for some video games, and I landed them, and then one after another jobs started rolling in. And yeah, God's been good. We met you shortly after, and you've been incredible, of course. But yeah, what else would you like to know?
I think that's fabulous. It's a great
Awesome,
introduction.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah. What a great entry into this industry, and to have that explosive success is fabulous. Okay, Joseph, let's get a bit of
That's that.
background on you.
That's actually really interesting, Jason, that you've got
Yes,
like a
sir.
musical background, because I have too, and you got started in video games and love for
Yeah,
the babies, adopting babies. That's amazing, man. Really, well done. Excellent,
thanks so
excellent.
much.
So I'm quite a newbie actually in voiceover. I started just over a year ago. Because my career was in languages as a translator, transcreator, which is kind of like mixed between content writing and translation. And then AI and Google Translate and all this came along, and there's a lot less work in that. And one of my clients said, "Well, can you do voiceover?" And I said, "Well, I probably could, but I haven't got a studio, so it's not going to sound any good." And so they said, "Well, can you try anyway?" So I did, and it was terrible, obviously. Um, so that kind of got my brain thinking. So I started setting up in a spare bedroom, not this space, in another house, um, some acoustic treatment and stuff, and testing it with REW, which is free software that you can get to test a space acoustic, see what the acoustic properties of it are, and got the space to a fairly decent level. Bought some basically kind of medium grade, medium level quality microphone and a USB interface, and audio interface, XLR interface, and started auditioning on for character work, character acting and animation, and actually landed some pretty big parts straight away, you know, auditioning with proper actors, you know, like people who do films as well. So that was like, wow, you know, I can do this, you know. And so that's when, you know, I kept working in mostly in animation, character acting. And when I decided to do it seriously and set up like a proper studio that I can get like a good quality sound with, it's not totally quiet, you know, because you don't want dead quiet, you know, but and now it's been a couple of months now that I've been trying to break into commercial work. Any questions? Ask me
No,
something.
I
I
wasn't
know
sure if
you
that was
want
the end
to.
or not. No, that's great. Yeah, I love the idea. I love the fact that both of you guys have jumped in pretty quickly about the same time, a year and a half ago, landed some great success. You're both super technical. As I mentioned in the intro, I've seen glimpses of your studios. I know what we're about to get into. I'm excited about it. And so let's do this. Jason, let's swing over to you. If you can change to your other camera, I
Yeah,
would love to see, I'm sure all of us would love to see your studio. If you can
absolutely.
take us from where you walk in the morning, because Joseph and I had that glimpse of your drums, the piano. That is cool. Let's see that if you don't mind starting there outside of your studio.
I want
Yes,
to hear
sir.
you play the drum kit, man.
Yeah,
I
I
think
want to
you'd
move into
probably,
Jason's home and play that. I want to live in that floor with all those instruments.
I think you might would rather hear David play the drums. I'm okay. All right. So I'm going to start slowly here. So my studio is downstairs. This is the house, the
That's
main floor.
another thing we've got in common.
I'm going to run. We'll try to move slowly. Let me know if I'm moving too fast.
No, that's great.
As we come in, this is what I call the rehearsal
Wow,
slash
grand
session
piano.
room. And funny story, I actually set up this room. It originally was going to be an apartment for our house, but we quickly realized it was just a little too loud for anyone that would live down here. So we actually turned it into a rehearsal space for a church that we worked for. So, and this room, I don't know if you can tell from the audio, but it actually is fairly tame acoustically. It's pretty neutral. It's not extremely live, but I've got these panels on the walls. I've also got some in the studio, but I just couldn't really use them for the recording space in the studio because I would have had to build gobos out of them. They actually came from a church that was getting ready to throw them away. And I'm like, no,
Uh,
no, no, no. These things are $60 to $80 a piece to build.
yeah.
It's
Jason,
rock
There you.
wool.
So
Yes, sir.
not
Jason,
only did you
have you got?
save them, but they are your savior. So
Yeah, it's wonderful.
yeah,
And
so
this
that's
is
great.
coming into the studio space.
Wait! Before you
Go
go in
ahead.
your studio, quickly, let's see your ceiling here in this music room.
Yeah, I wanted
Oh
to see
yeah.
if you got clouds on the ceiling.
Yeah, a
I don't.
couple.
This is
Isn't
it's I haven't installed anything here. That's going to be a little more involved process maybe for one day if I actually start doing recordings out here. I've done a couple of live services and concerts in here, and that was pretty fun. But
with
go ahead.
wait? It looks like a cloud. If you aim up and to your left.
That's the
That
ductwork.
oh, got it. Okay,
Yeah, the ductwork comes down there, and then there's a vent up in there.
okay,
Yeah, this is
nice.
actually it's a full bathroom, utility room, living area, and bedroom. It just doesn't have a window except for the patio entry down here.
Okay, okay. So now you go from here into your studio.
Yeah. So when I come to work every day, come through here. I don't typically have this photography light set up, but since we needed a little more light, in fact, I'm going to back up here and let you see what's going on here. So this is the space. It's basically built of photography pipe and drape, and those are heavy. If you look on Amazon, they're either called moving or sound reinforcement blankets. They're very heavy, and it's a combination of reinforcement blankets and sound what do you call them? Like 99% light blocking curtains. These are actually fairly thin, and these are really heavy. So it gives a little variance and a little variation to the sound. So it's not completely dead. It's not completely hanging. But I had a problem a little bit with sound bouncing off the ceiling and bouncing off the screen, and I'll show you what I did with that. Well, that's actually for the ceiling. I can take this bar right here and slide it over more if I want, but it's not fully, because it's not fully attached. It's just kind of resting on top of the frames. It's actually 3 frames, and this right here was a bar left over from one of the other photography pipe and drapes. There used to be a bar down at my feet, and now there's not. So I don't have to trip when I walk into the studio every time.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to have the blankets on that like that curtain rod. I know a number of people do that. It's a terrific idea.
Yeah. So as you see to the front, this is a 50-inch. Actually, it's one of our old televisions we had in the living room. I retired it for something much nicer and decided to mount it to the wall. On the left side here is my vertical screen that I use for copy, because originally, before I installed this right here, this I would have an issue with. As you sit here and I look up and I pull my microphone across, what do you see? A giant screen, which becomes a giant reflective surface when I'm recording.
Sure.
So I said,
Right in front of your mouth.
I said, okay, well, I'll pull it this way. And now, and I can actually hear a little bit of a difference right here, just because, there was, you could see a little remnant of a sound panel there, but now I really don't have that issue. It used to sound better in this corner, but now it
J-
actually sounds great. But if I want to
Jason,
cover the screen,
wait, Jason, sorry, I want you to
but
back up a little bit.
sure,
A favor, please. Can you, if
yeah,
it's possible, step back a little bit so we have a greater perspective and move the
yeah,
camera a lot more slowly?
sure,
I don't want anyone to have vertigo, and I want to be able to take this in. And it's
okay.
moving. It's just a little hard for us to figure out. When you first walked in, I didn't realize that the large screen was a large screen, and I couldn't figure out the sizing. And now it's great to
Uh,
understand. That's a big monitor, which is great. And seeing your laptop there gives us great
yeah,
perspective. Yeah, if we could just kind of see the whole space and see where your chair is, where you sit, where the mic is, that would at least help me kind of put everything together.
let's see. Let's see if I can do, is this a little better? Does that
Yeah,
help?
that's giving us perspective. Yeah, thank you. It's a great space. It's a
It's very wide. It's really roomy. I don't feel cramped at all, and it's
How,
very easy to
what
junk
are the
up if you're not
dimensions?
careful.
What are your dimensions right there in your sitting area? The width and the height?
Roughly, roughly 6.5 deep by 7.5 wide. And I would say height, it's probably about 5.5 feet to this. So it's really it's definitely made for, sitting down,
Okay,
but
fabulous.
it's perfect for when I'm
Wow,
sitting.
yeah, those are great dimensions. Before we go on,
Sure.
let's move over to let's jump over to Joseph's studio. Joseph,
Yeah, man.
let's see a bit of your space here. Can we?
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna disconnect this. You might lose the signal for a second and change. Do you want me to do a walk in? Like,
I would love that. Everyone
Yeah.
else, what do you think? Walk in?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
got thumbs up
while
there.
he's
Yeah.
while he's doing that, I'll show you the other half of the room. I'm also in the
Can you
collector.
still hear me? Yeah.
Well, I think Jason, hang on one
Um,
second, Jason. I
no,
think
you're
Joseph
fine.
is
Can you
here.
still hear me, David?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to do a walk out, obviously, before I can do a walk in. So this is the basement, basically, and
With a motorcycle.
this is the door that I come in through every morning. And this is the peaceful village because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to have to be very quiet.
Oh,
As you
wow,
can
look at
see
that.
that
Where are you exactly right now?
in Andalusia.
So you're now walking in town. That is terrific.
And this is basically the walk into the studio. Don't want to wake the neighbours up. So basically, this before I built the studio at the end, this was just like a garage space, yeah, for the motorcycle, tools and, you know, garage stuff. And what I did was just built a drywall across the end there just to seal that off. And with a door. So this is actually one of the most recent additions, because now in summer we have a lot of flies. So I have this silent space, and you know, you get a fly in there and you're trying to record and it'd be like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. And one of the things I wanted to do was have the computer, as you can probably hear this, it makes it makes sound, yeah. So I didn't want that in the studio. It also produces heat. So, you know, that's going to, so this is walking into the studio through the fly screen. And
Looking great.
Obviously.
Yeah. Joseph, if you don't mind, do what Jason did. Can you back up a little bit, as far back as you can go, so we can get a perspective of your whole space?
Yeah, definitely. So from the door.
And can you get from your home, your living quarters, into this area without having to go outside?
No. So basically this space is a rectangular space. The space I started out recording in was a cube, which I later learned was the worst shape that you could try and get good sound in, try to treat. And what I did to start treating that space was build these acoustic panels with recycled cotton insulation. These are 12 centimeters thick, which I think is 5 inches in imperial. And the first ones that I built were what I'm using here as clouds. These were 6 centimeters, just one acoustic bat, basically. And then testing with room testing software, I found out that these are great for, you know, the thinner the thickness of the acoustic treatment, the least, you know, they'll do less for bass frequencies because the wavelengths are a lot longer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what these will do, they work from like 400 or 500 hertz upwards. Yeah, and I'd get like a really muddy sound. That was why I started making thicker ones, like these ones. And they're really cheap to make and easy to make. They're just like, you know, 4 pieces of wood. As you can see that, 2 screws there. This is speaker fabric that you'd use to make, you know, loudspeakers, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
You know, to make one of them, it'd probably take you, I don't know, half an hour, maybe an hour, you know. If you want, I can take it off the wall, but it's basically the same thing at the back. It's got speaker fabric on the back. And also, if you want, you can turn them into Helmholtz resonators. So if you've got one particular frequency, I'll show you the graphs later. The REW you've got. If you've got one particular frequency that you can't get rid of, that actually happened in the other studio that I had. It was, I can't remember where it was, I think about 500 hertz. And what I did was, if you can see the screw holes here, what I did was I just screwed some slats across and turned the panel. You have to put backing on it as well because the waves can't pass through. And it really, really helped a lot, you know. And you can find online, you know, how thick and how high the slats need to be. And obviously the panel thickness matters as well. But, you know, there are loads of different things you can play around with.
No, you can say they're easy to build, but I don't think it's easy for most of us out there.
No.
A challenge for me.
YouTube is my friend, you know.
This
So
looks
I want
great.
to show you guys what I started out with. This is the software I was telling you about. REW, it's called. Yeah, it's room testing software. Yeah, and this is the test, or one of the tests. I ran loads of them that I started out with. This is a terrible result. This is what you get in an untreated room. Yeah, this is basically just sound bouncing around, and this is like 50 hertz here. What we're interested in is from 80 to about 8K, which is the human voice range. Yeah. And so there was obviously a lot going on in the high range. And so as I started adding treatment, I started getting this. That was improving. And those are those sort of peaks I was saying about you can treat with a Helmholtz resonator. And then as I got better at it, I started getting, can I move that somewhere? Anyway, this sort of result, and ended up with this, which is really what you should be aiming for. You know, this is basically from 75 dB to 80. That's like a 5 dB range. That's like a professional studio range. Professional studio range is considered about within 6 dB, you know. And this is freeware online, you know. It doesn't cost you anything, you know. All you need is a speaker monitor and a microphone, and you're good to go. You can test your space.
Yeah. Jason, you've been at this for 20 years. You probably remember like the old pink noise generators. Remember those?
Absolutely. We still use them from time to time.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Let's Joseph, hang on a second. Let's bounce back to Jason's studio. Let's see your equipment. I think all of us, we'd like to hear what kind of mic you're using, the software. Tell us what you have going on.
Okay, great. Let me swip this around. Okay, so I started off in Logic Pro, but I am moving into incorporating Pro Tools in my workflow, and I gotta say, I like it better. Thanks, David, for that recommendation. It's been much easier to once you get the hang of it. The workflow is wonderful, but I got to tell you, as an engineer, I have a lot of different clients in many different DAWs. So I've been trying to make an effort to become somewhat familiar with as many DAWs as possible. So I found this wonderful tool right here, and this became the thing. This is called the Tourbox Elite. Basically, it's a programmable production controller, and I can program each one of these buttons to basically my workflow is I program each button on the controller to do the same thing in every DAW. I just mount the keyboard shortcuts to it. So for every software I work with, when I rotate my knob, you see the sorry, there we go. You see it's going to scroll in and out. The record button is the same for every DAW. The cut button is the same for every DAW, and it's just made my workflow so much faster.
Yeah, that is fabulous.
It's really wonderful. Of course, multiple screens. You know, having copy over here is very nice if I want to turn, or I can just drag it over to the side. If you want to pair up your iPad, you can do that as well.
Let me jump in and ask you a question now.
Sure.
Where you are reading your scripts, it's convenient. It's right in front of you, but it looks like a tall screen here. It looks like you can see from top to bottom of a page, or even two. Do you get a problem in terms of your sound changing as you look from at the top of the page down to the bottom?
I don't, because I typically, I'm using a Magic Mouse, so it's touch sensitive. It doesn't make any noise if I want to scroll. So, you know, I can just scroll silently as the window goes. Usually I will take the window, kind of move it, let me set it back a little bit, and move it toward the center of the screen, and then I'll just scroll up and down as I go.
Okay.
You know, and then my head doesn't have to move. But also I'm not super close to the microphone when I record anyway, because I have heavy breaths. So in the pop filter is just not enough sometimes. So most of the time I'm recording I'm gonna actually turn it this way so you can kind of see. I'm not recording directly into the microphone. I'm kind of off axis speaking, you know, so
Okay.
that way I don't really even have to use a pop filter if I don't want to.
Okay. Let me just jump in here really fast with one
Yeah.
tip for everyone. If you do work off of a screen, or even if you print out paper and you're working off of a music stand, make sure to not keep the music stand or your screen at too much of an angle, of a vertical angle, because what will happen is as you start at the top of the page, your neck is at one angle and you have one sound, and by the time you read down to the bottom of the page, your neck gets crunched and your sound changes. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, I hear an audiobook or a documentary, a long form narration. And about every couple of minutes, I hear a quick shift when the voice actor has gone back to the top of a page. As they scroll down the page, it's slow, it's gradual, you don't notice it. And after about 2 minutes, it's clear again. So you want to keep those stands typically flat. Your method, though, your approach here works really nicely. So what mic do you have and what software are you using? Well, we know your recording software, but processes, your
Right.
editing software, and what apps do you use? What plugins?
Yeah, so like I said, sometimes I still bounce from Logic to Pro Tools. If I just need to move really fast, I'll just crank something out in Logic. But if I've got time, I'll run it through Pro Tools, because if you learn the DAWs well enough, you can produce the same result audio. You know, a DAW is a DAW is a DAW. So, but what I found, everyone, you know, was of course singing the praises of the Neumann U87. Well, I said, well, I don't have $3,500 to drop on this. And if my wife watches this later, she will say, amen, brother. But I decided to go on to find the next best thing, in my opinion. I did tons of research. I always do. And I went and found someone actually shooting out a Neumann U87. And this microphone right here, I'm going to see if I can pull the pop filter off so you can see it a little better. I'll flip it upside down. This is the Mic Parts S87, and it is made to, on their website, they specifically say they're not copying Neumann. They're taking inspiration from the Neumann 87. And I heard someone do an actual shootout on YouTube, and I gotta tell you, when I'm comparing the 87 to this microphone, I'm probably going to get a little hate for this, but I prefer this one. And the cost difference, just only because the Neumann 87 has had, unless you could correct me on this, the Neumann 87 has had, for the most part, the same electronics for a long time in it, unless they've made advancements that I don't know about. And this one, you know, just has newer technology in it. So it's just a tad on the clearer side, in my opinion. But 99.5% of people who listen to audio recorded between the two will never be able to hear a difference. And if you run it through the proper interface and have the proper gain staging, use the right mic technique, that's going to sound amazing. The other mic I like to use, if I just want a little variation, is the Underdog M Audio Nova. $69 on eBay, and it's incredible. I mean, I would put it up against microphones 3 and 4 times the cost. Honestly, it's just so incredible. I recommend this to people all the time as a beginner microphone if you don't have much. This is the older version of it. There's a newer one that's black now, I think, that comes packaged with an interface and cables and all of that, but I like to keep my microphones upside down just so what just happened doesn't happen. They kind of start to droop after a little bit if you don't tighten them up. And I don't like to over tighten things. So I typically like to keep things upside down to take the stress off the threads and off the hinges and things like that. I'm running through an Apollo Solo interface, and it's been wonderful. I was originally using a Yamaha Audiogram. It's kind of mixer USB interface in combination, and it was okay, but there was a little noise in the line. So I said, if I really want to get down to, negative 60, then I'm going to need something cleaner. So I cleaned up all my cables, tried to do a bunch of research, almost fell for the snake oil to say that says certain XLRs are better than others, but in my experience in 25 years of audio, cheap XLRs sound almost identical to expensive XLRs. I don't know if that's been your experience, David.
I have seen some cheap XLRs that sound good and some that don't sound good.
That's fair. That's
But
fair. I guess it
I've
depends on
not
the
seen an
shielding.
yeah, I've not seen an expensive XLR that does not sound good.
Yeah. As far as my monitors, I used at least what I would call full size reference monitors. I think they are 8. It's a Mackie. You can see that
Mhm.
HR 824, and these guys are old. They're not super old, but they're at least, man, I would say 10 years old, 10 to 15 years old. I'm not sure when they were released, but they've already released a new version of it, and man, they're hanging in there. They really are. I mean, they sound wonderful. They're very neutral. Um, in fact, I even have to end up adding bass to some of my mixes every once in a while because they're so flat, and I like them. You know.
Very cool. Let's go back to Joseph.
Sure.
Tell us, what do you have? Your software, your mic, your plugins?
So I started out with Audacity, as most people do. You know, it's free and everything, easy, great. You know, you can do almost everything with it. And then quite recently started using Pro Tools, which is also free. You know, maybe not many people know this, but there's an intro version, which is you get this. It's like almost the full program. You get less in. I've actually taken some of the plugins out of the audio suite, but it's like you still get all of the editing functions. For example, if I, cut this out, you still get the crossfade, all of that, which is great. Really speeds things up and everything. And it's like no money at all, so no reason not to use it, in my opinion. It's a great door, really. There is, going from Audacity to Pro Tools is for me was quite a steep learning curve, but I would probably use Audacity for an audiobook now because it's got the ACX check in it. But that's just a lot easier, so you can just run this through, as soon as you've done one part of it or the whole thing, to know that you're okay to go. Whereas Pro Tools doesn't have that. It's a bit more complicated to set it up. But yeah, that's basically it. The plugins I've bought, the only plugins that I've actually bought with it are the Manly Voxbox, which is amazing. Really simple compressor, and you get this kind of hi-fi EQ, and you've also got a de-esser in there as well. I would recommend. This is like €30,
So we're
and
at like probably $1.20 to the US dollar. So it's maybe like 35
yeah,
bucks for us.
$40 or something,
40 bucks. Yeah. That's
It's
great.
like well worth it, and then
Joseph, we've lost your video, just so you know.
is that okay now?
You're back. Yep, you're
Back
back.
again? Okay.
Yeah, tell us about
And
what mic are you on?
a microphone that I use all the time. And I'll tell you the story of the microphones. I started out with a Rode NT1A, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone. It's a cheapo microphone. It sounds cheapo. But what happened is that it caught some humidity. I think the capsule, got fried by humidity. And they're actually really, really quiet mics, the Rode. Jason was talking about, the noise that you can get off equipment. And so I got in contact and got in touch with Rode, and they sent me this, which is a Rode NT1 5th generation, which is an amazing microphone for the price. I mean, that was just like a replacement for the other one. After that, I got this Neumann TLM 102, and I tried to use it, but I just liked the sound of this one a lot better. So when I decided to go for a valve mic, I got this one, which is what I use now all the time, which is a Rode K2, which comes with its power supply, you can see there. And for me, it just sounds great. You can do so much with it. You know, you can sound silky. I've got 2 pop filters on it because basically this pop filter is great because you can see through, as you can see through it now. Yeah. So if I'm here at this kind of angle, I can actually see the screen, the text on the screen, whereas with a fabric pop filter, that's going to block out your visuals. And this is just like another pop filter I put on, so that if I'm going crazy with a over the top character, then no pop at all, no popping, even if I'm getting really close to use the proximity effect.
Well, I'd
And
like to quickly point out to everyone that very interesting thing about microphones, just because a particular microphone doesn't sound good necessarily on Joseph's voice doesn't mean that it won't work for you. Microphones really react differently to different people. They react differently to different acoustics inside a room.
yeah,
They react differently to how you use the microphone, your microphone technique. There are lots of elements that create sound.
yeah,
Let me say that differently. Lots of factors go into creating good sound. It's not just the microphone you have; it's your mic technique, your actual microphone, your software, the acoustics, a whole bunch of stuff going on. So if a microphone doesn't necessarily work good for one person, it may be fabulous for you and your room and your acoustics and the style of voice that you have and the genre that you record. It is really like clothes. Uh, one brand you may wear Levi's jeans and they fit you great, and another brand doesn't, and yet someone else the other brand fits them better and not Levi's. So take what Joseph says about the one microphone not sounding good and one sounding good, but remember that's for him, just his voice.
yeah. And also in the space and the way I'm using it, as you just said, this microphone, the Neumann TLM 102, is the one that I'll use if I'm in the van. I've got a camper van, which is not hasn't got really great soundproofing, but is actually not bad treatment wise because it's got a load of furniture in it, and a load of bedding. And so if you're parked up in a small space on holiday somewhere, you can actually, and I've actually used it already, and that is really good. I think the TLM 102 is less trebly than the TLM 103 and the Rode mics that I've got used to using. I think it's more for I think they design it more for the home studio setup. So if you've got less treatment, that might be something to try. Obviously, better to try it before you buy it if you can. I
Hmm.
unfortunately can't do that. One
Well, that
interesting. Sorry,
but
go on.
keep in mind, but only try a microphone if you know what to listen for. If you don't know what to listen for, trying it is sort of hard. Ask someone who knows what to listen for when you try a microphone. Joseph, where do you put your script? Do you read off of a screen?
Off this screen. What I'll do
Do
is
you just split your screen?
I'll drag the door down to the bottom, and then I'll have the screen here. I'll just scroll down. I've got a very silent mic, so I'll just keep scrolling as I go. So I don't have to move my head like you were saying before. And the
Okay,
door will just be like, I'll just start it, like I'll mute the track, enable it for recording, and then
that's
start
great.
recording, and then just forget about it. So I might, at the start, kind of like when I'm doing the lead in, or if I'm changing the volume a lot, if there's one, I don't know, part that I'm shouting in or one part I'm whispering, most if I'm shouting in, then I might be in here basically like that and see that I'm not clipping, I'm still within the range that, because otherwise I'm going to have to do that again, do a drop in again.
Yeah,
Um,
Joseph, what is the dimensions of your space?
well, basically it's about just over 2 meters high, which is just over 6 feet high, and about the same width. One thing I did when I was building this drywall here, yeah, is that I made sure that it wasn't parallel with
Good.
this wall here, because if it's not parallel, basically that end of it is wider than this end. So basically, as the sound waves try to bounce back, they're not going to find the same distance for the same frequency to bounce easily. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for everyone, angled rooms are typically sound a lot better than perfectly square rooms. Hey, Jason, let's bounce around here. And I'm concerned about timing.
Okay.
I have a bunch of questions. I want to ask other people if they have questions. We have
All right.
15 minutes. Let's go quickly. Let's do some quick Q&A here. Jason, can you phone patch in? Oh, that's a weird old word I used, phone patch. Can you patch in through ISDN? Oh my goodness. It's like I've gone back in time. That's bizarre. For those of you who don't know what a phone
Showing
patch
your
is, an
age.
ISDN, that's old software. I'm not sure why that's popped into my head. Once I said phone patch, my head went back to ISDN. Jason, I mean,
Yeah.
you probably knew ISDN back in the day. Jason, are you on Source Connect IPDTL? How do you connect with clients? Can you do playback? Can you tell us real briefly about that? Because that's a great ability for studios to be able to do that.
So far, I've got Source Connect, but I've not actually been able to use it with a client. They've just whenever we've lived in, it's been over Teams or Zoom or something like that.
Great.
And I just make sure my audio is as clear as possible, and then if they really want to hear something, I'll send them something real quick over, Google Drive or something like that. Source Connect is obviously much more ideal for that sort of situation, but not everyone has it, and it's
Right.
you can't even try it out really without unless you I think there's maybe a 2-day trial, but you still have to even pay for that 2-day trial,
Oh,
so
interesting.
yeah, it's like $25 for 2 days, I think.
So if you have a client patching in through Zoom or Google or something like that, if they talk, their voice is getting onto your microphone. How do you prevent that?
Typically I'll have them in my headphones only instead of coming out of my
Oh, perfect.
speakers.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll just cut my speakers off completely. So everything is in my headphones. I will show you, I like to use these Neumann headphones, and honestly, the model number escapes me. Okay, NDH30. I shot out probably, man, 10 different headphones, and to my ears and for my sinus pressure and whatnot, these felt and sounded the best for me. The only thing is they are not completely closed back headphones. You can actually get a little bleed, so if I'm not careful, if I do have someone else remoting in and I'm too close to the microphone, yes, that will get recorded out of the side of the headphone. So I just
Okay.
try to either stay away or make sure my headphone level is not up too loud.
Good. Joseph, what about you?
Well, an interesting fact was I was originally doing everything with these, which are actually pretty good. They're kind of semi-open back, quite economic. But they're 20 years old. I had them for 20 years, and then I put my monitors in the studio, and basically the monitors sounded a lot more trebly than the sound I was getting from the cans, So I thought, which one is right? I didn't know which was the right sound, So got a new pair of headphones, and now I have exactly the same sound whether I'm wearing headphones or from the monitors. So that is the sound. Like these were basically coloring the sound. So I
Yeah.
was recording it too trebly, just a little bit, but it's important to, I think, or it was for me at least, to have two sound sources, like cans, and these are also closed back. So if I'm trying to
Good.
learn how to do an impression or something, I can actually have them on, and what I'm saying into the mic won't be colored by, the video that I'm listening to or something like that.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson, Joseph, for everyone who listens. Make sure you use headphones that do not color the sound.
Yeah.
Because if the headphones are out there trying to make everything sound better, when you listen back, you get your sound to sound great, but some of that is because of the headphones, which means when you send your raw audio to your client, it doesn't sound as good. So you need to
Yeah.
make sure you hear what the client will ultimately hear. So use headphones that do not color the sound. Also, I've come across this recently a few times. Voice actors, new voice actors in the industry, using headphones that have noise cancellation on them. That's not a
Oh,
good thing to do, because if there is noise in your studio and you have noise cancellation on, then you won't recognize that there is noise unless you know how to read the wave files or you measure your noise floor. And most people don't do that when they're new. So you won't know that your levels or your recording has noise in it, and you'll send a client a file and they'll say, well, it sounds hissy, or there's an HVAC in the background. So do not use noise cancellation. Uh, Let me ask quickly if anyone has any questions for Joseph or Jason. You can speak out loud, anyone. You can unmute your microphone. You can put a question in the chat. And while maybe no one has questions, Jace, it sounds like you have maybe a question in there from based on your chat that you put in there. I'm not sure if there's more of a question.
How about ventilation? What each studio has?
Sorry, say that again.
Ventilation?
Yeah, let's hear about your
Fans?
ventilation. Yeah, studios get hot. Yeah.
nope.
No, Joseph, you know?
This is basically underground. Yeah. So it's like being in a cave. The temperature is more or less pretty constant, doesn't change much. Also, having the computer outside of the space that I'm in eliminates a lot of the noise and the heat source as well, because the computer chip has the fan is cooling down the computer chip. That's where the noise and the heat comes from. So basically stays the same temperature, you know.
That's great. Can you hear outside through the garage? Can you hear cars go by or
No,
anything?
actually, they had a festival in the square, in the village square, which is about 50 meters away. It's not very far away. And so I closed the garage door, blocked the windows, and closed this door because I've got space to put a double door on the studio. And I couldn't hear a thing. It was brilliant. Not even transmitted through solids, you know, probably because it's underground. You know, I don't know, but so
Good
that was
for
great.
you.
That was a really good test, you know.
What a great space. Wow. Joseph, what about you? I'm sorry, Jason, what about you?
Yeah, so mine is I actually didn't get to show you where the space is actually located in this room. The other half of this is actually I'm into collectibles and resale. So a lot of this just kind of looks like a man cave, if you will, or a 12-year-old's bedroom, if you want to call it that as well. But no, it's plenty of ventilation because it's open. You know, the only problems I have is this is a very loud vent. So I had to set up my thermostat. I had to get a Nest thermostat so that way I could control it remotely from my phone, and because it never fails. When I get ready to do a session, that air conditioner is going to kick on and it's, you know, just blowing. So I got to go cut it off. Other than that, unless someone is home walking around upstairs, the only issues I have are if I bring up the volume, if I bring the gain way up, sometimes I can hear my neighbor's air condition through the wall on this side. It's just a slight probably around 150 hertz, 120 hertz, but usually I can roll that off and it's not really it doesn't become an issue.
Joseph, what's your noise floor? You've probably measured.
I usually say 72 dB,
Oh,
but
wow.
you can see
Yeah.
Good for
the
you.
ACX check here actually gave me minus 84 dB.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty happy with that. One thing I wanted to mention was I've got this power bank here. Yeah. So what I'll do when I'm recording, because I don't know if you can hear that.
Not through Zoom.
No. But the speakers, they're powered speakers, yeah. And these are not really expensive monitors, but almost all powered speakers, they've got like a transformer inside them, will make a slight hiss. So when I'm recording, I'll just turn off the monitors. And then when
Yep.
I'm listening back, I'll just switch them back on again.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do the same thing. If I have any kind of noise, I'll just flip the monitors off. But I was surprised that after changing my setup a little bit, I did a test the other day, and as I was recording, I don't know if that's reversed or not, but either way, it might be reversed. It actually came up to be a negative 78.75 noise floor. I was like,
Brilliant,
that's
brilliant.
incredible.
I am
Um,
sure I've never had two people on an episode with reaching about 160 dB negative dB between the two of them. That is amazing, both of you.
I don't think it works adding it up like that.
It's
I know,
a it's
but
a
I mean, like
labor
both of you, like it's just great.
it's a
That's
labor
really
of love, and that only happens when the air conditioning's off and I can roll off, anything that I need to,
One
and
thing
there's
I'd like
no one walking around upstairs.
One thing I'd like to recommend if someone is thinking about an audio interface, yeah, this is the solid state logic interface. These guys became famous with, bands like the Stones, and they made really good mixing desks, and they've basically built that into this interface, and they're really cheap for what you get. Dead silent, and I was using a Focusrite Scarlett before that, which is I keep for a backup if this burns out or something, I don't know, but they're really, really good. The only thing that they've actually improved now with the new generation is the mic volume. These are 250 ohm headphones, so they're really sensitive, but they need like quite a powerful amp to power them to get some good sound out. So that's why I've got the mic gain all the way up here.
mm,
The new interface has got some more juice coming out of the headphone amp,
yeah,
apparently.
fabulous. In our closing minutes,
Um,
real fast, I want each Jason and Joseph. I'd love each of you to ask each other one question about your studio. Do you have any
Do,
question about each other's studio?
do you play drums and record yourself at the same time?
I actually don't have enough microphones to
I
to record drums. Most of the recording that I've done has been MIDI instruments over keyboard or guitar or bass. If I do drums, usually I'm going to go to a place that has a fully mic'd up kit if I need to do something
yeah,
like that.
lot of
Jason, I'd like to
microphones.
see you like Phil
Yeah,
Collins, where he's playing
yeah.
drums and singing at the same time, but you can
So
play drums in your studio and voiceover at the same time.
one of the churches I
Narrate an
worked
audiobook while you're playing.
Yeah, one of the churches I worked for, there was a season we didn't have a drummer, and I used to lead worship from the drum set. I had a microphone, much like this, hanging over, just had a SM58 kind of hanging down in front
Hmm.
of my face. And when I would push it away when I'd get loud and I didn't sing, I'd pull it back when I needed to do a solo. It was fun. Um, I will throw something. Somebody mentioned in the comments that I've got a Nintendo Switch too. If you probably go back and look, you're going to see a few game consoles. A happy, interesting byproduct of all of this was some of the video games that I've been able to have the privilege of voicing. Since I have a Steam Deck, which is like a mobile PC gaming console, there's not a lot of play testers for Steam Decks. So I reached out to the developers and I said, "Hey, I have a Steam Deck," because I wanted to think about, okay, how can I stay in these developers the forefront of their mind, so the next time they do a project, Jason's name comes to mind. So I said, "Hey, why don't I play test your game for you? And I can find the bugs and variances and the issues." And I've been able to do 3 or 4 games like that. And I'm pretty sure the next project that comes along, that'll be return work, and then hopefully,
Brilliant.
yeah, if they get big, maybe
You
one of
get
these
paid
days.
for playing video games. I want that job.
Yes.
It's a privilege. Yeah.
Amazing.
Great
Listen,
idea,
everyone,
really.
I want to stress that Joseph and Jason have donated their time tonight. They have volunteered to be here to field our questions, to show off their studio, to tell us, to walk us into and enter us into their room. That's said oddly, but you know what I mean. They've welcomed us into their studios, and I I want to thank them for sharing with us. And it's been really great getting to see both of your studios, and I appreciate the time you've given us. And see some nice thank yous here in the chat coming in, gentlemen. You both rock. Truly,
Thank you.
truly rock with the drums and the guitars. Both of you truly
Brilliant.
rock.
Great. It was a great experience. Thanks, David and Jason. great to meet you and talk. Really. Okay.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Joseph. As I mentioned, I'd love to stay connected with you after this as well.
Excellent. Go for it.
Let's
Let's
link
do
up.
some character voices together.
Yeah. David,
doubt.
you want to give him an opportunity to plug how we can find him and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know how to find him.
You can both say your website so people can find you.
I can
Joseph, what's your
post
website?
it in here. Hang on a minute.
Say it out loud in case people don't download the chat.
It's basically JV Macdonald.
Well, but that's hard for us to know. Is it the letter J or JAY? Spell it for us.
I'll just post it in here in the chat for you.
Okay, if you post it in the chat, I'm going to read it because I know that not everyone has the. It will listen will read the chat. It is Joseph's. His website is JV. So let me start again. JV Macdonald, which is MacDonald.ES/voiceover. And Jason, yeah, yours. Oh, you got yours.
Mine is much simpler. I really lucked out on the domain. It's just JB, as like my name, Jason Burroughs, voice.com. And it's that simple, and you'll find everything you need.
Jace has got a question, yeah?
Yeah. Jace, you want to unmute and talk to us? I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, your microphone is not coming through, Jace.
I think the microphone itself might be muted on your headset.
I actually did that the first time, David. You asked me to do a read in the rehearsal. I forgot about the mute button, and you were like, "Okay, get someone else to do that."
Oh no!
Found it just in time.
Oh, good. Jace, you are now on mute. Okay.
Is it working?
There we go.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Ready,
Okay.
Yeah.
Jace, we're going to stay late for you. What's your question?
How long have you guys been doing voice acting for?
Just over a year.
Oh, well, I just started.
Not long at all. How about you?
Well, I told my mom that I wanted to start voice acting 3 years ago, so I found this website, so I wanted to try starting on a project or something. I can do a Mickey Mouse impression, but it's not really the best. But
go on then, give it a go. Let us hear your Mickey Mouse.
Hi there, pals.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Very fun.
Man. Way to go.
Very fun. Yeah.
I
love it.
Chase, thank you so much. What a fun way to end the program. Everyone, it is the end of the hour. Joseph and Jason, thank you again. Everyone, thank you for joining us. This will be posted on our website probably within a few days or a week at most. And I wish everyone a great month and hope you come back next month and join us with 2 other voice actors. I won't say who they are yet. You'll have to join us and find out. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, David.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
God
Goodbye.
bless you guys.